It is time to round up a big topic from the week. Texas Senator Ted Cruz getting some buzz this past week for his stance on marijuana. While speaking at the Conservative Political Action Conference, or CPAC, Cruz voiced his support for the rights of states to pursue their own marijuana policies. In the past, the senator and potential presidential candidate has said he's open to debate on the subject of pot. Recreational use of marijuana became legal in Alaska and the District of Columbia this week. The legalization of pot, that's our topic this half hour, and we want to hear from you on Facebook and Twitter. Joining us live in our newsroom is our Fox 26 senior legal analyst, Chris. He's joined by our panel, Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst, Jackie Valley. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, so what do you think about the senator's comments that he's at least open to the state's rights to choose?
Well, you know, as much as we've talked about pot in the last 2 years, I'm beginning to wonder about our producers. You know, this is a coming trend, and I actually think what Senator Cruz said was I got everybody laughing now. I think what Senator Cruz said is actually a very conservative thing to say. It's a states' rights issue in his view, and I think he's probably right about that. If each individual state wants to analyze their own drug policies and say, with respect to marijuana, there's nothing wrong with that, and follow the president's lead, quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with that. I think the states have the right to do that. The greater question becomes after we legalize marijuana, which I think is coming nationwide eventually, what happens with other drugs, and what happens when people start saying, well, there's nothing wrong with ecstasy, there's nothing wrong with this, nothing wrong with that. That's when I think the real debate comes. Mustafa, we'll start with you. You know, Senator Cruz, I don't find anything odd about an ultra-conservative person saying, let the states handle this.
And you've had Governor Rick Perry has talked about it, you know, some elements of decriminalizing. And I think that rather than making it a criminal offense, for decriminalize it, not make it legal, but decriminalize it, it would be huge saving to our justice system, and it would prevent a lot of people from getting involved in an early age and having a long criminal record. The interesting thing about this is that in states like Colorado and others where they have decriminalized marijuana, where it's legal, the issues they're having are all federal issues, because when you go to banking, if you put your money in a bank account, the banks are controlled by federal legislation. So at some point, although it's a state's rights, we do live in the United States of America, and we're going to have to figure out national policy.
Well, the Justice Department did say they would not enforce the federal marijuana laws in states that legalize it. What about Ted Cruz? At CPAC, we've gotten used to bold statements at CPAC conferences, everybody trying to out-conservative the other one. And so I don't find any statement I hear at CPAC to be really out of the ordinary, but I don't find what he said to be anything other than conservative, quite frankly.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard to out-conservative Ted Cruz.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
And you're exactly right. This is a very conservative statement, and it makes perfect sense. Now, Ted has been very specific in the past when he's been asked about this, and he said, I personally don't like it, but what he said at
But
CPAC,
did he inhale? That's really the question.
What he said at CPAC and what he said other points, that he does believe that each state should have that right. As a mother of 2 teenage sons, it's really hard for me to say anything different than that as well. I think you brought up the justice system, and they've said that they are not going to enforce certain laws. And it's in direct reaction to what Mustafa was saying earlier, because there is going to be a conflict as you see more and more states making this consideration. So they know that when the conflict occurs, they're going to have to back off. I do think it is troubling because we are talking about this quite a bit. We've seen studies in the past that have shown that marijuana has led to other harder drugs, and that is not part of the discussion. We're not seeing that discussion at all. So that's why, as a mother, I definitely have a problem with this, but we have to let each state determine what's going to be right for their own residents.
And that is a problem, I think. As a parent, I don't want any of my 3 children smoking pot. If they are, I don't know about it, and I hope they're not. But don't you find the same problem Jackie's finding, that as a parent, you really don't want to be out there saying there's nothing wrong with this, but don't do it?
Well, there are a lot of things, whether it's alcohol and a number of other things that are legal that are destructive for your health, even cigarettes to a great extent, that are addicting. So we have, as parents, you have to have those conversations regardless. The issue with marijuana that I have is that it really has clogged up our legal system. In Harris County, we prosecute about $12,000 or $12 million a year on this, and so it puts people's lives on the long term on a path to lots of harder criminal activity because they smoke pot, because they got caught. And the rate that our teenagers are smoking pot and maybe even our producers. No.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
It's a joke. But it is a hot topic, and it's happening across the country. And I think the federal government and the federal laws are going to have to catch up because
Still
bank
not on the
commissions are
radar
there.
in Texas. I mean, they're not. This session, we're in session, not even discussing it.
Yeah, but if you have our senator, our very beloved Senator Ted Cruz, saying that he is not opposed to states having their own rights to do that. You've seen our beloved former Governor Rick Perry saying that he has no issue with certain laws being in place of legalizing it in increments. I think it is going to be coming. We're not talking about it in this session, but it's coming soon.
I'm sorry, we don't have time to debate the beloved remarks.
I was getting into the whole this whole beloved.
Time for that. We're going to leave it right there, Sally.